Today we're going to take a look at the CA-15 stripped lower from Coronado Arms. This is a billet lower made from 7075 T6 aluminum. Every piece of this lower has been machined to a very high spec. Coronado Arms is new to the AR-15 market, but they're not new to the firearms industry. In fact, they've been making really high quality bolt action rifles for a number of years in Dixon, California. And these rifles can run anywhere from $3,000 to just under $6,000. They're very highly custom made, and each part, no matter what the part is made right there in Dixon, California. And seeing the rise in popularity with the AR-15 and how there's so many companies out there making parts, they decided to make a quality AR-15 lower that would be in the same tradition that they make their rifles. Now, the big thing about a billet lower is it costs quite a bit more to make and to produce than it does to build a forged lower. And most of your lowers out on the market are forged. In fact, I'm going to do a comparison in a few minutes with a forged lower compared to a billet lower. But we're going to look first at some of the quality features of this lower particularly, some of the things that are different and what I really like about it. I've been wanting to build a AR-15 rifle with just some of the best parts available. And I've got a number of AR-15s, I've done a number of builds. And while your basic AR-15 lower will suit most of your needs, if you really want something of a high quality, I think you might want to take a look at the Coronado Arms CA-15. The finish and the fit is just beautiful. It's a really hard anodized Type 3 Class 2 standard military spec black finish. It does have a flared magwell, which is really nice. And one thing you're going to notice immediately is that it has the trigger guard built into the receiver. The front of the magwell has texturing right here in the design. And this really helps if you're like me. I like to grab the front of the magwell when I'm shooting with certain positions. And this gives you a little more bite. It is a multi-caliber design, so that just means you can put different standard 5.56, 6.8, 300 blackout, and different calibers this will suit. You know, you're going to go into your 308 and some of those you're going to need a larger receiver. But with the multi-caliber design, which typically most of your lowers right now are going with multi-caliber. The magwell is broached. When it's machined, it's one solid tool that cuts through out the magwell. And what this does, it gives a lot of consistency to the thickness and the sides. Sometimes there are multiple tools that are used to broach the magazine, and when that does, there are some slight variations with tolerances. With a single tool, it cuts out very consistently, and it just really gets the tolerances down. You're going to notice a lot of raised areas on the receiver, and you can see the crispness of the lower, and that comes from being a billet. But one of the things about taking a billet lower is that you can change the process, you can build up certain areas. Most of your lowers that you're seeing, and this is a Palmetto State lower, it's an excellent forged lower. There's nothing, I've built a number of these, and they're decent quality. And they're great for taking out and shooting, and they'll suit most of your needs. But if you're really wanting to put together a really fine quality rifle, I think looking at a nice billet lower will really get your specs down and allow you to really build a good, tight, solid rifle. If you'll notice the edges, how they're rounded off, and this is part of the forging process. Everything is smooth, rounded. With the billet, it's really sharp, it's really nice and strong. You're going to have some added features with the billet because they're machining the outside. Both insides of the receiver have been milled. They have to mill the forged lowers to finish them out. But I'm going to show you some of the differences with these two lowers. And again, the Palmetto State is an excellent little lower. I like Palmetto State gear. Like I say, I own a number of them. But if you really want something to step above that, if you want something that's a little finer quality, then I think really looking at a nice billet lower and this Coronado Arms lower is really an excellent choice. Now, in your standard forged lower, the inside tolerances are going to be the same because it's going to fit all your mil-spec parts. But it's the outside tolerances that are going to be critical. Here with the PSA, we're looking at just over 2 millimeters in width of this wall. On the Coronado Arms lower, we're looking at about 4 millimeters. And a lot of that has to do with this buildup right here. And this is going to give you some extra strength right here where the lower and the upper receivers meet. Here where your selector switch is, you can tell that this area here is nice and solid. Again, the inside tolerances are the same. It's the outside that changes, and that's going to give you some extra strength with the Coronado. Okay, where your buffer tube inserts into the lower receiver, notice that the Coronado Arms has a very solid built-up area right here. Here, with your regular forge lower, it's going to be a lot more narrow. And in the forging process, this has been tapered down, which makes it look nice, but this is a good, solid, strong piece. Now, a lot of that translates into hard use. If you're going to really use a rifle in extreme conditions, if you're competing, if you're out and you're training, then having a rifle with the billet lower is going to give you some advantages. If you're just going to the range and plinking and you have something just as a home defense gun and you just enjoy going out and shooting the ARs, your forged lowers are going to be fine. Right here around your mag release, you can see the rounded off, which is traditional for the AR-15. Here we have a flattened surface. Everything is cut, very crisp, very nice. You do have some extra strength right in here as well. Here, your basic smooth surface on the front of your Magwell, and again with the Coronado Arms design. Now you see this little groove that comes down. I think it's a nice touch. It's just a groove that's been milled into the lower, comes down here, and then it runs the length of your trigger guard. And it does just speak of the quality and the attention to detail on the Coronado Arms lower. Now obviously we have some built up areas on the CA-15 lower, which will add a couple of ounces difference. So this weighs about 10.5 ounces. Your standard forge lower weighs about 8.5 ounces. Now your standard anodizing on your lower gives a little bit of some teeth. It just, that parkerization feel to it, there's just a little bit of roughness, which is typical for most of your AR-15 lowers. But on the Coronado Arms lower, it is so smooth. It's almost like a blued finish. It's so smooth. It's just not shiny. It has a nice matte, but yet a little bit of a sheen to it. The quality is very apparent just holding these two lowers. Here we have the markings, model CA-15, caliber multi, of course the serial number. Have your standard safe and fire. Coronado Arms Incorporated, Dixon, California. Now one of the things to consider when you're looking at a billet lower versus a forged lower is the price. And your price is going to run about half for the forged lower. The big difference is all the machining and the precision that's done on the outside of the lower. With the buildup in the receiver, you're not going to have as much flex, which will reflect in accuracy in some cases. Most of your typical forged lowers are running about $150, and your Coronado Arms CA-15 is about $285. So there's definitely a difference in the price, but I think that translates into quality. Again, if you just want to build a basic AR-15, I would definitely recommend just picking up a forged lower. But if you want to step up and make a really quality rifle, I think looking at the Coronado Arms billet receivers, the CA-15, is an excellent choice. Now we'll be making a video of the build for the Coronado Arms CA-15 lower, and then once I acquire all the different parts that I want to use for this rifle, I think I'm going to use a Daniel Defense barrel and just use some really high quality parts. So upcoming soon, we're just going to really take a look and then of course do some field tests and really go through some of the quality features and what I find out about the Coronado Arms CA-15 lower. At this point, Coronado Arms only produces the lowers. They're thinking about making more parts for the AR-15. I hope they do, because if the quality is anything like this, it's going to make a really exceptional build and ultimately an exceptional rifle. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. If you're really looking to build a very high quality, now obviously if you have some built up areas on the Coronado, now you know you can buy just a regular,